Welcome back to Dominant Mets Nation. And you know what? Our New York Mets are hot right now. They've won 2 out of their last 3 games, and this is probably as hot as they've been in the last couple weeks. I know. They still suck. But you know what? It just gives me a chance to kind of really look forward and kind of think and kind of really imagine what the offseason is going to be like and what is going to be Mr. Steve Cohen's reaction to an abysmal year. And you know what? We're going to go through this video because it's quite interesting. And ironic right now, the Mets I just mentioned took 2 out of 3 from the Chicago Cubs, who are doing pretty decent, and Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor, all of a sudden these guys can play again. They could play. Pete's hitting home runs, Francisco Lindor's average is being pulled up. Oh, what do you know? Now these guys are hitting a bit. Okay. It means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. We're still going to lose a whole bunch of games. It's still all about the prospects. But you know what? We got about 4 guys in the lineup who should win some games. Between Brandon Nimmo, Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor, and Francisco Alvarez. These guys should win us some ball games. They have talent. So at least we're seeing that talent these last couple ball games. But all right. So what is going to happen in the offseason? Are we going to fire Buck? Are we going to fire Eppler? We probably should fire Eppler. We probably should fire Buck. But are we? It seems like Steve Cohen is really relying on the fact that these guys have 3-year contracts. Buck's in the middle of a 3-year contract. If we want to attract talent like the president for the Brewers, we need to show them that we're not going to fire anybody at a whim. So Steve Cohen is very focused on showing other guys in other organizations he's not going to flip his lid and fire anybody at a whim. So that's why he's sticking with Buck. He's sticking with Eppler. But is that the right decision? Is it? Well, here's what I was thinking about, right? So in the beginning of the year, who was really criticizing Billy Eppler taking this current team into this new season? Were there a lot of prognosticators and were there a lot of publications saying the Mets would be this bad? Were there a lot of publications saying the Mets would be fighting for last place? No, there weren't. I think Vegas had the Mets as like 11-1 odds after they signed Verlander to win the World Series. The ESPN was projecting the Mets to fight with the Braves for number 1 and 2 in the division all year. Everybody was predicting the 101 game Mets to repeat that season and be better. Verlander would replace DeGrom, and DeGrom was always injured. Now Verlander would be that workhorse. You had McGill and Peterson, who would be that number 6 and 7 in the rotation and add depth. You had Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor, Nimmo, Alvarez would come. They would add depth to the lineup. You had a decent bullpen. I know we lost Diaz, but you had a lot of publication and you had a lot of major league experts. That's what the most important thing, saying the Mets would be good. So how are you just going to blame Billy Eppler when everything falls flat on its face? I'll tell you why. Because a lot of these publications are basing their information on last year's performance. Whereas Billy Eppler has to anticipate the worst case scenario at all times, right? And I don't think Billy Eppler did that. He knew Edwin Diaz going down was going to be a significant injury. That happened before the season even started. He mentioned at the trade deadline how big of an impact that injury had. Yet, months had gone by and he still didn't have a sufficient replacement for Diaz. So when things began to falter in May and June and the bullpen struggled, I was like, this guy had months to fill the gap, but he didn't. And there was nobody in the minor leagues that was good enough to step up. So it's not like, hey, I didn't sign somebody or I didn't make a trade because we had talent in the minor league. No, that wasn't the case. Okay, so he didn't make sure a bullpen was there. Okay, Over the off season, everybody and their mother said you need a guy to bat in the fifth hole because Vogelback's simply not going to cut it, and it's not going to elevate the team to where they need to be. Pete Alonso needs damn protection. He doesn't have that protection. Okay, fine. They tried to get Correa. It didn't work out. But they had opportunities. They could have easily went out and made an offer to JD Martinez. They could have easily went out to made an offer to Bellinger. These guys were on the market for quite some time. It's not like they had a whole lot of interest. It's not like they got mega contracts. If the Mets put dollars in front of those two hitters and scouted them correctly, they could have had a decent fifth hitter and decent depth to the lineup. I know a lot of things went wrong, but who knows if you plug 2 or 3 pieces in and plug those holes, plus you didn't have the opportunity to trade everyone away, you could have had a successful season and then blew it up after this season. So I'm saying that even though Billy Eppler was able to salvage this season because Steve Cohen is a damn billionaire, just because Steve Cohen says, here, I'll pay 80% of your contract, I'll take your top prospect, or I'll take a top prospect back. That is the only reason why Billy Eppler came away from this looking decent. I don't say that Billy Eppler, in my eyes, did a good job. He hasn't made like a surprise trade or a big acquisition that I'm like, hey, wow, no other GMs could have done that. No, he hasn't. He really hasn't. He was in an opportunity to acquire some good talent because he had Steve Cohen's ability to swallow a lot of the contract. We're going to be paying $150 million of dead money into next year. I don't pat Billy on the back for that. I don't say good job. Steve Cohen has to hold this guy accountable. If he likes him, fine. Keep him in the organization. But we need to have somebody over Billy that can make the decisions so that we don't find ourselves in a situation blowing the team up. We find ourselves in a situation building success for the future. Now, what Steve Cohen wanted to do is have us good compete now and in the future. He never wanted us to have a season like we are this year in 2023, where we're completely irrelevant, where we have to end up blowing it up and giving up the last 2 months. That is not good for business. That is not the brand Steve Cohen wanted us to build. He never wanted us to be in a rebuilding mode. The reason why he was injecting so much money in the team was because he wanted to avoid the rebuild. He wanted to show the fans, I'm going to front the money so that we don't have to go into a sustainable rebuild, and we can kind of rebuild on the back end through building up the farm system and still have a good product on the field. Okay, but Billy Eppler's poor moves and poor planning led the plan to just blow up. So I do blame Billy. I anticipate Steve Cohen, what he should do is demote Billy, whether it's appointing a president and having the president do that, but definitely there has to be a power structure change in the offseason, and it has to be imminent. It has to be something imminent right now. Billy can be proving himself to be a worthwhile component of the organization. Maybe he acquired some talent, but the reason why we are in that position, and we did waste $350 million this year, and we are wasting $150 million next year on dead money, is because of Mr. Billy Eppler. So we cannot forget that. I don't want to take Steve Cohen's money for granted. We're lucky we're in this position that we have an owner that can swallow so many bad contracts. It's just really ridiculous to think about, especially when I think about the Wilpons owning the team back in the day. You know, one contract would have killed us. Forget about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 contracts. I mean, it's ridiculous. It started with Cano and it ended with Verlander. But it is what it is, and I'm going to keep looking at the future. We're going to keep looking at these videos on the future. But what do you think about that? Should Billy Eppler be fired? What should happen with the structure and the leadership structure of the Mets? Should Buck go? I kind of think Buck is caught up in the crossfire right now. I mean, I don't really see what Buck can do. There's just so many things going on above his head that it's really hard for him to you can't really control certain things. You can't control what you can't control. That's the bottom line right now. And I still think Buck is a good manager. He just won Manager of the Year a few short months ago. So that's my take. Just wanted a quick short video on Steve Cohen and the New York Mets and what they're going to do with the leadership structure in the offseason. What do you think? Please like and subscribe. If you love baseball, if you love the New York Mets, like I always say, it can't get any worse, but with the Mets, it probably will. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have yourself a great day.